So if we step back, I've talked about some unmet business needs that I think are particularly relevant to Web 2.0 technologies. Exception handling in particular as a significant source of headcount activity in most companies, and the related notion of distributed process networks as we move to more open innovation approaches, supply networks that embrace a large number of specialized participants, and collaboration marketing to deliver more value to customers. And those unmet business needs in turn are creating an opportunity for new information technology architectures, ones that effectively integrate service-oriented architectures and Web 2.0 technologies, start with an outside-in perspective, the assumption being that you're connecting a very large number of independent enterprises, and the notion of relational architectures, where the focus is on supporting relations across individuals and institutions. So significant potential in addressing these unmet enterprise needs. Let me just finish with some comments about what's required to capture the value from this opportunity. So while there is a significant economic opportunity in the enterprise, I don't think it's going to be easy to address that opportunity given the significant shifts that are involved in promoting adoption of these kinds of technologies. Let me start with the notion that decision-making within most large enterprises is shifting in an interesting way that many technology providers and service firms are just starting to grapple with, in that the primary decision-making around IT adoption is actually shifting increasingly from the chief information officer to a combination of a chief financial officer and business line managers in the case of more targeted business IT initiatives. An interesting comment on this is that CIOs, from my experience at least, have become increasingly risk averse over time, particularly in the deployment of new technologies. The easiest way to get fired as a CIO is if things blow up in terms of IT operations. The best way to ensure that things don't blow up in terms of IT operations is not to add anything new to the equation. And so increasingly I find that CIOs are a significant resistance point to the deployment of new technologies. And on the other hand, somewhat paradoxically, business line managers are actually quite willing to take risk. If you can convince them there's a compelling business case, they're quite used to taking risk, and they're under extreme pressure to deliver higher levels of performance to the enterprise. So in effect, increasingly, the business line managers are making the purchase decisions for incorporation and adoption of new technologies within the enterprise. And the CIO still has a significant role in terms of decision making, but it's largely a veto power and increasingly trying to stop or slow down the adoption of new technologies within the enterprise. This shift in decision makers is also accompanied by a shift in requirements. Traditionally, over the past decade, we've seen the promotion of information technology around big bang visions, transformation of the enterprise, long-term projects, 5 or 10-year projects in terms of deployment of new technologies. As we move to business line managers and CFOs, the emphasis is much more on pragmatic performance improvement. If you don't have a near-term business case, and I mean a payback within 6 to 12 months, that's very targeted against a real business need with relatively modest investment, it's very difficult to get these business line managers on board. And they also want a no-regret situation where they have options in terms of not getting locked into technology. The implication of this is that the economics of technology sales are shifting in a profound way from mega sales to micro sales, and this is a very difficult transition for technology companies to go through. The sales challenge and marketing challenge also increases. In the past, if you were marketing to CIOs, you had a very centralized, easy-to-target decision maker. In the case of business line managers, they're much more dispersed across the enterprise. You have to find the business line managers who have a real felt business need, a sense of urgency, and getting them to identify themselves is often very difficult. So you're moving from a technology sale where you sell features and functions to a business sale where it's all about the business case. Horizontal sales become much more challenging. You've got to have a deep understanding of the vertical context. You're not qualifying versus the competition, you're qualifying against the need of the business line executive. And you're moving from relationship selling to reference selling, where you get business line managers to refer the solution to other business line managers with similar needs. The sales opportunity is that there's a need to increasingly close the gap between the CIO and IT managers, who again are increasingly risk averse with regard to new technology, and the business line managers who want to find ways to address the performance needs that they're facing. So there's an opportunity to help on defining near-term business needs, managing risk for the business line managers, and keeping informed on new technologies. And on the CIO and IT side, it's helping them to manage risk, which is usually their top priority, supporting architectural migration so that we're not just dealing with point solution deployments of new technology, but developing consistent architectures that are sustainable over time, and helping the CIO to develop business cases for the new technologies that they have an interest in. I think this is a key opportunity for IT service firms to make explicit the unmet needs that many executives are facing, to help configure the appropriate technologies to address these needs, and to create a compelling business case. So if I come back to the basic question of Web 2.0, fundamental or fad, and focus on the two basic questions, is there a near-term business impact that can drive the initial adoption of the technology? And is there a longer-term potential for evolution of the technology to address increasing business needs over time? The perspective I have is that there is an opportunity, particularly around this exception handling, to deliver very significant near-term business impact in the enterprise. And over time, through helping to define fundamentally new IT architectures that support collaboration across many different business partners, an opportunity to deliver continuing economic value. So just to summarize, I guess despite much hype and confusion, I think Web 2.0 does have significant potential to address unmet needs, interestingly, in the enterprise market. And in the process, they could reshape the competitive arena for IT product and service providers. Bottom line is, I believe Web 2.0 technology can support rapid incremental innovation within the enterprise and move information technology from what has been viewed by many business line managers as a constraint on innovation to an enabler and amplifier on innovation. So I appreciate the time and attention. I encourage you, I've just briefly covered some of the topics. For those of you who have interest, I do have a blog that I encourage you to go to at edgeperspectives.typepad.com, and that'll give you a lot more perspective on some of the topics that I've covered. But at this point, I'd like to open it up to questions. Thank you.